Hello everybody, Jim here, coming to you from my palatial Tokyo apartment, relaxing and answering another viewer-submitted question. And today's question comes from Mike Levy, also known as Mike Tindo here on YouTube. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. If you like some great gaming content, I'd recommend checking it out. I will be putting a link in the description. And Mike's question is, what are some of my favorite English-friendly import PlayStation games? And that's a good question because I do have a lot of favorites that aren't so English-friendly. As I've been studying more Japanese and my Japanese has been improving, I've been taking on games that require more Japanese reading comprehension, games like Gunmu, Martian Memory, and maybe a couple of the Ganbare Goemon games, some RPGs, Police Knots, stuff like that. But really my bread and butter is still mostly like action games. I like, my arcade style games, fighting games, shoot 'em ups, beat 'em ups, that kind of thing. So I did go ahead and grab a handful of games off the shelf. I guess you can consider this supplementary to my import recommendations videos. But okay, let's go ahead and get started. I got a little stack of, looks like 8 games here that I'm going to go ahead and recommend. A few different genres, and these are all very English-friendly. Right off the top, 2 fighting games that are sequels to games that got released in the West, and they are Rival Schools 2 and Tobal 2. And I like both of these games a lot. I like the originals, obviously, but these two are great if you just want to play a better version of those original games, Tobal number 1 and Rival Schools, because essentially they take the same gameplay, but it's tweaked, it's refined a bit, and then they add in some extra characters and gameplay modes and all kinds of extra content. Actually, Tobal 2 has up to 200 unlockable characters because the adventure mode is expanded, so you can go and beat up all the creatures in the dungeons and you can capture them and then use them in versus mode and arcade mode. So it's it's like expanding on Tobal number 1. Rival Schools 2, like I said, a couple of additional characters, and I mean immediately it's all the mini games are unlocked, all of the sports mini games and some additional ones. And there are Pocket Station features to it as well, if you have a Pocket Station. And then there's the School Sim mode where you create your own character and you can go to class and do all these various challenges and quizzes and stuff like that. That's the part of the game that isn't English friendly, it's all in Japanese. But it is fun, and you can build up your own character and then use them in verses and things like that. So yeah, both of these games essentially take the original game and tweak the gameplay a bit, and then throw in extra characters and gameplay modes and all kinds of extra content. And you've got Tobal 2 and Rival Schools 2, and actually both of them are more affordable than their original Western counterparts, Tobal number 1 and Rival Schools. Both of these games are cheaper than those, so you get more and you pay less. So those are 2 games that I go back to quite a bit. Okay, next up, an excellent beat 'em up based on one of my favorite anime series. It's Hokuto no Ken, and the full title is Seikimatsu Kyuseishu Densetsu, which is a mouthful. But this is essentially just a really great 3D beat 'em up. There are some other elements to the gameplay, I guess. Like there are some quick time things you got to do here and there, but for the most part, you just run around and beat the hell out of everyone. And they explode just like on the show, and so I like that. Again, I'm a huge fan of the series, and this game it's the entire series shrunken down into a easily digestible beat 'em up, so it doesn't take like a million hours to get through. You can play through each sort of like saga in the series. So there's Shin, and then you move on, and there's Rao and Jagi, and all of the primary characters are there, and you get to beat the hell out of them, and then enter in all your little button combinations, and then you punch them until their head explodes or something like that. So it's a great game, really fun, really excellent graphics, awesome sound design. Like all the original Japanese voice actors are present in this game, and just overall really great. If you're a fan of Fist of the North Star, it really doesn't get much better than this. And also another game that is pretty damn affordable. I think this is like maybe a $10 to $20 game. So that's one of my favorites. I play through that. I feel like I play through it like at least once a year. It's a lot of fun. Great 3D beat 'em up. Next up, this is a game I just picked up recently. That's a lot of fun. It is made by Treasure and published by Enix, though. It's Rakugaki Showtime, which is sort of like an arena combat game, except for the most part you're picking up items and throwing them at each other. In particular, these little smile balls. They're almost like dodgeballs with smiley faces on them, but every time you throw them at someone, they go from a smile to a frown. So it's getting more and more angry as you're throwing it at people until I guess it's ready to like erupt and it starts glowing, and so you pick it up and you throw it at someone and it launches just this like ultimate attack that absolutely annihilates your opponent. But this game is a lot of fun. I believe it's up to 4 players because there can be up to 4 people or more running around the arena at all times. So it's fun. The graphics are like excellent. Treasure is usually good about having cool gimmicks in their games and having really great graphics. And everything has like a hand-drawn look to it and colored with crayons, which I like a lot. A very Paper Mario-esque vibe to it, I guess. So really cool looking game. It even has some characters from other Treasure games, I believe. At least one of the characters from Troublemakers is in this, which is pretty cool. So this is a really fun game. Really cool graphics. If you like Treasure games, you pretty much know it's going to be awesome. So Rakugaki Showtime, very cool. 2 platformers. These are both 2D platformers that I like a lot and can easily recommend playing. I think I've recommended them before, actually, on my channel already, but Hermey, Hopperhead, and Kitchen Panic. They're both fairly traditional, straightforward 2D platformers. And Hermey Hopperhead, you're a kid that gets like sucked into like a garbage world or something like that. So there are like lots of garbage creatures to contend with, like old sneakers and tin cans and things. And you collect eggs, and then you collect stars, and then you put the stars into the eggs, and they hatch. And you use the eggs and the little chicks and things as like platforms to reach. There's just, I don't know, it's odd. There's some weird gimmicks to it, but for the most part, just a really good, straightforward 2D platformer with really good graphics, cool sound design, like a really kind of like ragtime jazz soundtrack. Very cool. And Kitchen Panic at the same time, just a really fun 2D platformer where you play as a potato running around a kitchen, jumping on little, canned good monsters and bubbles and all kinds of stuff, and you'll be on the kitchen counter, and you'll be on the stove, and you'll be down in the pipes and running across the sink and all kinds of stuff. And another one with really good graphics. It's a pretty cute game and a really good soundtrack. I struggled to think about like what kind of music you'd call it. Like I wanted to say salsa music, but maybe I'm just thinking about food. But it's got kind of a fun, sort of like zesty soundtrack to it. Kitchen Panic, awesome. Hermey Hopperhead, awesome. If you like 2D platformers, those are 2 of the better ones that I've played on the PlayStation. And again, those are 2 that I play quite a bit, and we'll probably be reviewing at some point in the future. Some shoot 'em ups, some good shooters for the PlayStation that I can recommend. First is Bokanto Ipats Dorambo, which is, I believe, based on some Tatsunoko property, some anime that is kind of comical. When I look at the character designs, it makes me think of like Wacky Races or something like that. It's like almost the Japanese equivalent to Hanna-Barbera. This is a really fun shooter. You have a whole bunch of characters to choose from. It is a top-down shooter. There are lots of power-ups and, super bombs and like crazy bosses and enemies and all kinds of different environments. So it looks good. Has a cool, wacky soundtrack. Great, like the characters are all taken from whatever anime it is. I guess Bokanto Ipats is an anime. I've never heard of it. But judging by this, it seems like something I'd like to watch. It has a very Saturday morning cartoon feel to it. But really good top-down shooter. I don't think I've ever heard a whole lot of other people talking about this game, but it is pretty damn cool. If you like your shoot-'em-ups, this is one that you could definitely go for. Another one that's really inexpensive. So Bokanto Ipats Dorambo, awesome shooter, check it out. And then Gradius Gaiden, which I'm pretty sure was later released on the PSP or something like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the PSP. But if you want it for your PS1, it was only released in Japan. This is an awesome Gradius game. I'm a huge fan of the Gradius series, and this was like the only one in the series that I hadn't played yet. I picked it up a few months ago, and yeah, really great. You have a handful of ships to choose from that all have different power-ups. So you can choose the classic Vic Viper, or you can go for a handful of other ships, whichever one suits you best. Graphics great, soundtrack great. It's, you know, old school 90s Konami shooter, so you know the music is going to be outstanding. So Gradius Gaiden, one of my favorite shooters on the PS1. Admittedly, I have not played a lot of shooters for the PS1, but like this and Einhander, I mean, these are some of my favorites on the system. So Gradius Gaiden, definitely worth picking up if you're a shooter fan, especially if you like a good Gradius game. And that's it for now. That's 8 games right there that are all really good, inexpensive games, except for Rakugaki Showtime. I neglected to mention that's like a $100 game these days. But they're all really good. I would recommend picking them up. I would go into a bunch more games, but I'm going to save that for later reviews and game recommendation videos. But if you're wondering what are some good English-friendly PS1 games, those are a handful to think about. If you like a good fighter, beat 'em up, platformer, shooter, those are all well worth playing. Anyway, that's going to do it for right now. Thank you, Mike Levy, Mr. Mike Tendo, for submitting your question. Again, go and check him out. I will put a link to his channel in the description. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to put them down in the comments. Or if you want to, you can contact me through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. I'll put links to all of those down in the description as well. You can always feel free to drop me a line if you have any kind of questions. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Or if you want to actually submit a video question, those are cool too. Get yourself on a video, get your channel a nice little plug. I obviously don't mind doing that. So anyway, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you again, Mike, for your question. Take care, everyone. I will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.